Hello everyone, I am Nidhi Sharma. Welcome to Economics Decoction, where I share the essence of economics. So in this video, we are going to discuss about the first theory of international trade, that is the absolute advantage theory, which was given by Sir Adam Smith. So yes, we are just starting with a new series on international economics, where we are going to discuss each and every theory of international economics, which is very important from your UGC NET exam point of view. And also, if you are preparing for your graduation or for your post-graduation examination, this video is going to solve all your doubts regarding the absolute advantage theory, which was given by Sir Adam Smith. By the way, here at Economics Decoction, we are currently working on the mission JRF. Yes, we have to prepare well and we have to crack our JRF. This is the mission of Economics Decoction. Okay, so if you have not joined my Telegram channel yet, make sure to join the Telegram channel by the name Economics Decoction, because there I share very important links of my classes and other important economics related ideas as well. So make sure that you join the Telegram channel of Economics Decoction. Also, here I would like to inform all the learners who are preparing for the upcoming UGC NET examination that we conduct daily free live classes on Economics Decoction's YouTube channel at 8:30 a.m. in the morning. So, if you are an aspirant of UGC NET economics, make sure that you join this video live. That means you make sure that you join this free live class daily at 8:30 a.m. in the morning at Economics Decoction's YouTube channel. Also, you can follow my profile out at Unacademy, where I have conducted many important classes for UGC NET economics. You can get access to the free live classes and you can gain knowledge and strengthen your concepts related to economics. Alright, and if you are planning to get any subscription at Unacademy, you can definitely use my code NSNET and get a 10% discount on your subscription charges. Now, without any further delay, let's quickly begin our absolute advantage theory, which was given in 1776 by Sir Adam Smith. Okay, so what does this absolute advantage theory basically focus upon? So Smith started with a simple truth that for two nations to trade with each other voluntarily, both nations must gain. So what do we understand from the first statement itself? That Adam Smith considered international trade to be a positive sum game. Unlike the mercantilists, they considered international trade to be a zero sum game. But here, Adam Smith argued that no, international trade is a positive sum game, because a country will only gain if they will only trade if they both gain voluntarily. Okay, so if one nation gained nothing or lost, it would simply refuse to trade. That means both should gain, only then the trade will take place. So this is the starting point of the absolute advantage theory, which was given in 1776. That's very important to note down the years of each and every theory as well, because in UGC NET economics examination, you get many chronology questions where you have to arrange the theories in a chronological order. So what are the assumptions of the Adam Smith's theory? First and foremost assumption, which is very important, is that it is based on two goods, two countries, and one factor of production. What is that one factor of production? It is labor. Okay, so the first assumption is that lack of mobility of factors of production. The factors of production, that means labor, is not mobile. Let's understand this in detail. Adam Smith assumes that factors of production cannot move between countries. This assumption excludes the possibility of migration between countries as well as presence of multinational companies. It also implies that the PPF of each country will not change after the trade, and there is no reason to expect wages measured in same currency to be same after trade. So basically what happens is that the labor, they cannot migrate from one country to another. So the labor is immobile. Okay, and the PPF is going to be same. The wages are not going to change because the PPF after trade is going to remain same. Okay, thus that is the reason why the wages are not going to change. Now, trade balance, that means there is no transportation cost. Smith assumes that exports must be equal to imports. This assumption means that we cannot have trade imbalances such as trade deficits or surpluses. So we cannot have trade deficit or surpluses, trade will be in balance. Constant returns to scale. Adam Smith assumes that we will get constant returns as production scales, meaning there is no economies of scale. For example, if we take 2 hours to make one loaf of bread in country A, then it should take 4 hours to produce 2 loaves of bread. Definitely. Consequently, it would take 8 hours to produce 4 loaves of bread. However, if there were economies of scale, then it would become cheaper for countries to keep producing the same good as it produced more of the same good. And the labor is the only relevant factor of production. So there is constant returns to scale, what we call it as CRS. So CRS prevails in the Adam Smith's theory of absolute advantage, and labor is the only relevant factor of production, and there is full employment equilibrium. This is another important assumption of the absolute advantage theory. Now, what is absolute advantage? Let's understand this in detail, and I promise by the end of this video, this concept of absolute advantage trade theory is going to be crystal clear in your mind. Okay, and if you found this video to be helpful, please like the video, and also if you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe to the channel as well. Now, let's understand what is absolute advantage. The capability to produce more of a good given less of a given resources than a competing entity. What does this mean? If we are able to produce more output using less resources, then it will be called as we are having an absolute advantage. A country is said to enjoy absolute cost advantage over another country in the production of a good if the former country uses fewer resources to produce a given quantity of output compared to the later country. Okay. So, in simple words, if I try to explain you, absolute advantage is said to hold true in two conditions. Either you can produce more of output given the level of resources, or you can produce same level of output given fewer resources. So what did I tell you? The first condition that I told you is that either a country can produce more of output given fewer resources, that means by using less resources you are producing more output, so you are having an absolute advantage. And the second condition is that you are able to produce the same level of output as the other country, but you are using less resources to produce that same amount of output. So in both the conditions, it will be called as you are having an absolute advantage in production of a particular commodity as compared to the another country. It is determined in a simple comparison of labor productivities. It is possible for a party to have no absolute advantage in anything. In that case, according to the theory of absolute advantage, no trade will occur with the other party. If any country or any party has no absolute advantage, then there will not be any trade. Okay, so absolute advantage is the main cause of trade. When one nation is more efficient than or has an absolute advantage over another in the production of one commodity but is less efficient than or has an absolute disadvantage with respect to the another nation producing a second commodity, then both countries can gain by each specializing in the production of the commodity of its absolute advantage and exchanging part of its output with the other nation for the commodity of its absolute disadvantage. So the very simple thing is that you are going to export those products in which you have an absolute advantage in production, and you are going to import those products in which you have absolute disadvantage in production. So in this way the trade will take place between two countries. Okay, I hope this concept is clear. Let's proceed further. Absolute difference in the cost of production of different goods across different countries is the fundamental reason or logic behind international trade between two countries. So according to the absolute advantage theory, it is the absolute specialization or absolute differences in the production of two commodities which is the main reason of trade between two countries. So, how does this absolute advantage arise? It arises when one country can produce a good at a lower cost compared to the another country, or it arises between the countries endowed with special resources, which can be soil, climatic conditions, related environment, etc. Using different environments, each country specializes to export a good. Now, here one thing you can understand, I just explain you two reasons behind absolute advantage. See, the first reason is, either if you look from the output perspective, this is your AP curve. Okay, this is your AP curve. Suppose you are producing more of output, that means more of output given a level of resources, so you will be called as efficient. Okay, you will be called as efficient. Or in second condition, you are producing same level of output given lowest cost. This is your AC curve, average cost curve. So either you will be called efficient when you are producing more of output given resources, or you will be called as efficient if you are able to produce given level of output using less resources or at lowest cost. In this case also you will be called as efficient. Okay, or you will be called to have an absolute advantage. I hope this concept is clear to you. Now let's understand in these two scenarios what is going to be your absolute advantage. See, you can have two ways of looking at absolute advantage. The first one is output per worker, and the second one is labor units required to produce per one unit of good. So see, if you look in the way that what is my absolute advantage in terms of output per worker, that means how much output I am going to produce using my level of resources. So this is the way how you can look at it. Suppose labor units man day 1 in Sri Lanka is able to produce 2 units or 2 kgs of rice and 4 kgs of tea, and in India 1 labor unit or 1 man day can produce 4 kgs of rice and 2 kgs of tea. So if you ascertain absolute advantage when your output is given, then how can you do this? Rice production in Sri Lanka by rice production in India. What will be your ratio? 2 by 4. And similarly, tea production in Sri Lanka by tea production in India. It will be 4 by 2. Now, as you can see, this ratio 2 by 4 is less than 1. 1 indicates equality. 1 indicates equality between Sri Lanka and India in production of rice and tea. But since this ratio is less, 2 by 4 is less than 1, that means we can say that Sri Lanka is having absolute disadvantage in rice production, because see, in the numerator we have Sri Lanka and here we have rice. So we can say that since this ratio 2 by 4 is less than 1, so Sri Lanka is having absolute disadvantage in rice production. Similarly, if we compare Sri Lanka and India for tea production, we can see that 4 by 2, this ratio is greater than 1. So Sri Lanka has an absolute advantage in tea production, because we are measuring tea here and Sri Lanka is a numerator. So we can say that Sri Lanka has an absolute advantage in tea production. Okay, so since the LHS is lesser than 1, so it implies that Sri Lanka is having absolute disadvantage in rice production, and India is having an absolute advantage in rice production, whereas RHS, that means the right hand side, is greater than 1, which implies Sri Lanka is having an absolute advantage in tea production and India is having an absolute disadvantage in tea production. Now, this was whatever we looked till now was from the output perspective, but there is, as I told you, there's another way of looking at absolute advantage. So that is by looking at the labor required. So suppose labor required, or what is the cost? So cost to produce 1 kg of rice is 10 in Sri Lanka and 14 in India, and the cost or the labor units required to produce tea is 12 in Sri Lanka and 8 in India. So as you can see from this fraction, you can say that the labor cost of rice in Sri Lanka by labor cost of rice in India is 10 by 14, which is less than 1. So Sri Lanka is having an absolute advantage in rice production. And labor cost for tea in Sri Lanka and labor cost for tea in India is 12 by 8. So Sri Lanka is having an absolute disadvantage in tea production. Okay, so these are the two ways that you have to remember how you can ascertain the absolute advantage, either in terms of output or in terms of cost. Now it depends when asked to you in the question whether it is given in terms of output or whether it is given in terms of cost. So accordingly you have to answer the question. I have taught you both the methods in terms of output as well as in terms of cost. Now it depends on the question what it is asking to you. I hope this is clear to you. Now let's understand what is the absolute differences in the two countries. Now just look at this schedule very carefully. Here we have country, India and Sri Lanka, and here we have two scenarios. One is before trade and another one is after trade. So rice production in Sri Lanka was 2 and of tea it was 4, and in India the rice production is 4 and tea is 2. So the total world production is 6 in both the countries. So what happens after trade? Now, since Sri Lanka is having an absolute advantage in tea production, Sri Lanka is going to produce 8 kgs of tea. And since India is having an absolute advantage in rice production, India is going to produce 8 kgs of rice. So after trade, the world production has increased from 6 to 8. Okay. As you can see here in the last column, the change in production between rice and tea. Here it is clear that after trade, the entire world production has increased because now the countries are producing and trading in those commodities in which they have an absolute advantage. So let's just have a reading, a quick reading once. Suppose we are looking at 2 days of production in both countries. In these 2 days, Sri Lanka can produce 2 units of rice plus 4 units of tea, while India can produce just 4 units of rice and 2 units of tea. So this is the case before trade. Now in 2 days of trade, we can see that Sri Lanka is producing 2 units of rice and 4 units of tea, while India is producing 4 units of rice and 2 kgs of tea. 2 kgs or 2 units, anything you can call it as. Now, after trade, what happens? Sri Lanka can free up 1 day of production of rice as it focuses only on the production of tea. So, in 2 days, it will produce 8 units of tea, and in similar manner, India can produce 8 units of rice. This implies that before trade, the world was producing just 6 units of rice and 6 units of tea in 2 days, whereas after the trade, world is now producing 8 units of rice and 8 units of tea in the same 2 days. So we can see, due to absolute advantage and due to the trade, the world production has increased of both rice as well as tea. From 6 it has increased to 8. Thus, the world production has gone up. Hence, as per the absolute advantage theory, countries should focus on the production of that good in which they are cost efficient. That is, they enjoy the absolute advantage. Okay. In this figure, we can see that the green PPF, the green production possibility frontier, is more inclined towards the rice axis. Okay, so the green PPF is India's PPF and it is more inclined towards the rice axis. So thus we can say that India has an absolute advantage in rice production. So this is the way how, by looking at the figure, just by looking at the PPF, you can tell that which country is having an absolute advantage in which commodity. Since India's PPF is more inclined towards the axis measuring rice, that means towards the y axis, then we can say that India has an absolute advantage in rice production. While the red PPF is more inclined towards the T axis. Here X axis is measuring T, and Sri Lanka's PPF is more inclined towards the X axis or towards the T axis. So we can say that Sri Lanka has an absolute advantage in tea production. Thus, the slope of the PPF indicates the opportunity cost or exchange ratio between the two goods domestically. Okay, so this was all about your absolute advantage theory by Adam Smith. I hope you liked this video. If you found this video to be helpful, make sure to hit the like button, share this video among your friends, and also let me know in the comment section what are your suggestions and feedback regarding this video, and what more videos do you want. And also make sure to subscribe to Economics Decoction's YouTube channel, and also join the Telegram channel of Economics Decoction. I'll see you soon in my next video. Till then, happy learning!